Hello, everyone. This is James LeGrand, author and life strategist, and today I bring you today's life strategy session. I want to talk today about Charlie Sheen and about Kate Middleton. So, what do those two guys have in common, or that guy and that woman have in common? The number one answer: distraction. What they are doing right now is using Charlie Sheen and Kate Middleton and the emotional interest that they're generating to distract you from the news that you should be paying attention to, the things that are actually kitchen table household issues that are affecting you every day. So, what are some of the things that you are currently being distracted from? And by the way, let's just talk about this a little bit. Tiger Woods, he was a distraction. He was a distraction for a long time while quantitative easing 1, 2, TARP, everything else that we talked about, 2009, 2010. Those issues were being discussed in the media, but most people are paying more attention to Tiger Woods and all the mistresses and the drama. So it's important to not get caught up in that again with Charlie Sheen and with the different issues that he's having, as well as Kate Middleton. Kate Middleton's going to have a beautiful wedding, and Charlie Sheen is going to live his life the way Charlie Sheen chooses to, and I have no issues with that. He knows who he is and what he's doing, and that's what it is. He has his problems. He's got to deal with them, just like everyone else. But while you're focused on his problems or her dress, you're not looking at your problems or the potential problems that are going to be coming your way. So again, today's life strategy session is going to focus more on you and some news that, rather than talking about Charlie Sheen or Kate Middleton around the kitchen table, here's a couple other things that you may want to discuss. Number one, let's talk about unemployment. So unemployment recently was reported as dropping, right? So it's not as high as it once was. It's 9.4%, I believe, is what the last reported number was. I believe, I'm not sure. Maybe it was 9.8%. Either way, either number, it could be 10%, they could say 15%. They're still not stating the true unemployment number. Remember, as individuals no longer receive unemployment benefits, they fall off the rolls. As an individual decides, you know what, I can't find a job, I'm 62 years old, I'm going to just go ahead and retire, and they apply for Social Security, they drop off the rolls. True unemployment is somewhere north of, they're talking about 17% to 22%. That's the range that I've heard. Comfortably, I'm going to just go with 20%. So unemployment at 20% means 1 in 5 Americans do not have a job that do want a job. So you could be out of work 99 weeks and your unemployment runs out. You don't have unemployment, you don't have a job, yet you're no longer counted as unemployed. Okay, so let's just make sure you're paying attention to the numbers, understand the source of those numbers, and understand how they apply to you and the people that you care about. Number two, let's talk about inflation. So inflation has been in the news more recently. I actually was talking about inflation toward the middle of 2010. A lot of my friends said, how did I know that was going to happen? It was simple. We were inflating the amount of dollars in the market, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. So inflation was a no-brainer. It had to come. The question was when. But how come the government says, or how come Ben Bernanke, the Fed chairman, says we don't have inflation? Well, he uses an indicator called the CPI, which stands for the Consumer Price Index. It's a basket of things that people consume. What's missing from the CPI? Food and energy. So what are the two things that every household needs? Food and energy. Remarkable. Yet it's exactly food and energy where we're seeing the biggest price increases. So again, be careful of the numbers that you're hearing. Make sure that they make sense to you. And if it doesn't, if you're hearing we don't have inflation, yet you're going to the supermarket and saying everything is double or triple what you're used to spending, then you understand there's a problem there, right? And what's being reported. So maybe you want to talk about inflation a little bit around the table. Number three, let's talk about war. So we had Iraq, we had Afghanistan, and now we're talking about Libya. This is getting a lot of noise in the media right now, and the way they're talking about it is in terms of a no-fly zone. A no-fly zone means we come in, we carpet bomb all the planes, the military equipment and planes that Libya has, and then you establish a no-fly zone. That's what it means. That is an act of war. So anyone who is not talking about that is not being honest with what that really is. Okay, so you need to be thinking about, what does that mean? What does war mean to the economy? What did it mean last time? And typically it means we're going to borrow a lot more money from the Federal Reserve, further devaluing our dollar. That brings me to number four, dollar devaluation. Let's talk about that for a moment. So what happened when we did quantitative easing 1, 2, the TARP program? All those programs were basically us taking money from the Federal Reserve, or borrowing money from the Federal Reserve, and injecting them into the economy. Now, let me ask you a question. Why are diamonds expensive? And the answer is because diamonds are rare, right? Or at least they're we're made to believe they're rare. So when there isn't a lot of something, it tends to increase in value. Well, the opposite is also true. What if the market was flooded with diamonds? If there were diamonds everywhere, they were on the ground, they were as common as acorns. Then we wouldn't put such a price premium on diamonds because you can find them anywhere. Well, the same thing happens with the U.S. dollar. The more dollars there are on the market, the less each dollar can buy. We actually lower the value of each dollar. The more dollars on the market, the less value you get. The least number of dollars in the market, the more value you get from each dollar. So with all this money printing we've done, we have devaluated our dollar significantly. And we're already talking about quantitative easing round 3. That's already starting to get hinted at by some of the members of the Federal Reserve. So you need to start thinking about that because, at least in my opinion, one definition of inflation, there's many definitions of inflation. One definition is simply inflating the money supply, meaning printing more money. When I saw that starting to happen at a significant rate, I knew that we were going to start to see prices increase. Why? Because each dollar buys less. So you're going to see prices have to increase, meaning more dollars are needed to buy the same value. Okay, so that had to happen. Again, another kitchen table conversation that you may want to have instead of Charlie Sheen and Kate Middleton. Number 5, let's talk about crime for a moment. When Gerald Celente, who is a member, he owns the Trends Research newsletter, and I love listening to him. And he says when people lose everything and they have nothing left to lose, they lose it. And you are seeing evidence of that right now, or you're seeing it in Tunisia, you've seen it in Egypt, you're seeing it now in Libya. It's happening in protests in Oman and Syria. Saudi Arabia is having some protests. Bahrain. There's a number of places where people have lost everything and they can't afford the food. Inflation's high and people are taking to the streets. I do fully expect that to start to happen here. We're seeing some semblance of that now with the issues with the teachers in Wisconsin and the bill that was recently passed in Ohio that was a similar measure. So again, expect crime to start to rise and start to prepare yourself for that. Okay? The 6th thing I think you may want to talk about around your kitchen table is a potential government shutdown. If that happens, checks could be delayed for those who are on unemployment or those who receive Social Security. They just both happen to be fixed income folks who, with prices increasing and you're not getting a check, that could be a big deal. If you want to research a little bit more about what happens during a government shutdown, just Google or do your research on government shutdown 1995. It has happened before, and that's a pretty good indication as to what we could expect now. Government employees that are considered non-essential being furloughed. I did say that right. Things of that nature happening. So you need to take a good look at that, understand how that affects you. But again, don't get caught in the hypnotism of Charlie Sheen and Kate Middleton or anyone else that they put out in the media to distract you from the things that are important to you. While you're not paying attention to these things are absolutely making its way back into your kitchen table in the way of increased bills, less money, higher taxes or lower, whatever the case may be. Keep your eye on the ball. It's okay to have an interest in these other things. Just don't get addicted to it to the point where you're not observing the other things that are truly important. Okay? Again, this is James LeGrand with today's Life Strategy Session. I wish you well.